Hey, good
Now,
morning. Good morning. Good
good
morning.
morning. Okay, let's pick up where you just began. And then I knew this was going to happen. I should just hit the record button as soon as we get on, because we always seem to wander down um, some places in the green room that we wish we would have recorded. So, not making that mistake today. You had some observations, and I want to hear them.
Well, I just wanted to wish everybody a happy 420. Um, that was right at the beginning there. That was my little, anyways. Yeah. So Lowell and I are uh,
Celebrating.
celebrating, and we're celebrating. 420 isn't just about a Rastafarian belief ritual. 420 is a really great thing because it's one of those moments that causes all of us to stop at 420, whether it's daily or once a week or once a month or on April 20th. And it brings the community together. So everybody that likes a little of the devil's lettuce, it's God's greatest green herb. And it's such a wonderful thing to steep and make tea. It makes beautiful balms and salves for healing. And it's just so wonderful. And I'm really lucky because I enjoyed it when I was a late teenager and early 20s. And then I decided that it didn't really mesh with going to school, going to upper university, and then, wanting to pursue professional hobbies and then also career. So I gave it up. When I turned 16, I gave it up because that's when Allah Raqqa, Zakir Hussein's dad, I went to one of the Ravi Shankar sitar concerts at Occidental College at the Ravi Shankar Music Circle, and Allah Raqqa, bless his soul, he was the world's preeminent tabla player, and of course everyone knows Zakir Hussain. He's just amazing. Anyways, I after the concert, I went right up to Allah Raqqa, and of course we got blazed before. Who's not going to get blazed when you're a teenager and a surfer? And then go sit down in a circle with Ravi Shankar and just get taken to another universe. Anyways, I went up to Allah Raqqa, and he was such a lovely, funny, humorous, and just blissful guy. He had such great energy. And I went up to him and I said, I want to learn how to play those drums, the tabla. And he looked at me and he smiled and he said, let me see your hands. And so I put my hands up like this, and he took me by the hand. And he looked at both of my hands, and he looked at me, and he looked at my hands, and he says, "Mm-hmm." He says, "Turn them over, please." So I turned my hands over. As you know, tabla, and I've played for you, is very complex rhythm cycles and very complex ragas, and he's looking at my hands, and it's a bit late. I'm 15, going on right about to go on 16. And musical families in India start their children out at the age of 2 or 3, and they become musical prodigies by the time they're 40. So he's holding my hands, and he looks up from my hands, and he gets really close, and he looks me right in the eye, and he goes, "First, you must quit smoking marijuana." And I was wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and I had really long blonde hair, and I went, "Far out, dude. You bet." And so the very next week, that night, I took my pipe and I gave it to a friend. I took whatever butt I had and gave that to a friend. And I just said, that's it. And it was fun anyways, because I'd done it for a couple of years. And my parents never ever found out. It was amazing. Anyways, the very next week I went back to a concert. I went up to him again. He was playing again. And I said, okay, I quit last week after we met. And he goes, okay, let's get you a set of drums. And that's how it went. So, and then I never used it again, until I semi-retired, opened my pie shop. And, it's been 11 years now. And I gave the business to William. So, and he's doing great with it. So I have more time to write and think and do mathematics. So I enjoy it now because, Lowell, I worked very, very hard all of my life with no support from grandfather, my parents, or anybody. And my brother wasn't really a great guy, and so I always had to figure things out on my own. So it's been a long, beautiful life of hard work. But now that my business is established and I have a quiet space and my son is just doing so great, I can enjoy myself a little bit. So 420 is a nice way to bring tribe together, right? Right.
Right.
And then so
It's
by
a
the
plant medicine. I've grown to appreciate that more and more.
right. And by the way, I stayed in the Ravi Shankar Music Circle for 5 years studying music. And Alla Rocca put me on to the world's greatest mridangam player. And mridangam is the barrel drum that they play in South India, tabla from North India. His name was Harihar Rao. Harihar Rao, R-A-O. And Harihar played with Bud Shank back in the 50s and Dave Brubeck and people like that. And so he was one of the first South Indian music masters. He was a Usted. He was over here in the 50s studying Western music. And so by the time I got to Harihar's house in Old Town Pasadena, he lived in one of those big, beautiful wooden Victorian homes. He had this beautiful music room, and it had a couple other students my age and a couple older guys. And there was room for about 20 people to sit, and there was only 5 of us sitting on cushions. And so he got us started on basics. And Harihar was my teacher. So I actually learned a North Hindustani instrument from one of the greatest maestros of the mridangam, Harihar Rao. And he was very, very famous. And I love him. And he's gone too, because that whole thing about life stops giving, starts taking away. And I'll be joining all of my friends someday. And I know they think of me because I think of them. But, it was a seminal moment to meet him. And so I studied under Harihar Rao. And so I took it very seriously. And I think music was my expression that also helped me with mathematics, because of all the beats, the various beats. So it's sort of the physical manifestation of higher mathematics, because you're playing a pentatonic scale and you're playing in a rhythmic cycle of 1 to 64 beats and then back to 1. So it's fascinating stuff. So just being like this age is nice because I've had these experiences. I've had communication from people from other worlds, and it's been a joy. So now I can just sort of relax a little bit, and it's helped me too, because I think when we were all younger, we were stressed out about our careers and stressed out about, and I use we as in this is where I accept that everybody else has had this experience as well. We all sort of stressed out back in the 80s trying to keep it right. And there was a lot of partying in the 80s, and I avoided all of it, which was good for me because, I always had an inclination to have more fun and to get busy. So I'm glad it worked out the way it did. I read this thing once when I was 18 about Pisces. And, Pisces feel a lot. We're a very sensitive sign. And so we feel a lot, and we have a very strong connection to limpid pools of water and waterfalls and rivers and oceans. And also to fish. All Pisces I've ever met love fish. And not just to eat, just to like talk to while you're snorkeling. So I read this thing about the Pisces sign, and and this was from somebody who was very popular in astrology. And it said, this is when I was living up in the Bay Area. I was like 19. And it said, Pisces always go 2 ways. They either realize their natural tendency to party and to jerk around their entire life, or they get serious about that being their biggest fault and become very, very successful at whatever they choose to do. And then I went on to describe Pisces and stuff. I used to be fascinated with astrology, and Laura is just so switched on that way. In fact, I'm going to reach out to her and talk about the whole aspect of the Mercury retrograde. She was kind enough to spend a good hour and a half sending me an email or two, because I've known Laura for years. And so I've got to get back in touch with her. I want to find out if she's planting trees, because she bought a place out in the desert, high desert. So she's doing good. Yeah. So you had released your new program, and so I'd watched that, and there were some interesting comments you made about control mechanisms and downloads and packages. And I was thinking, gosh, we are the beings. And
Yeah,
I've already told you, Lowell, that I'm very positive and feel very deeply that they need us more than we need them.
I
And
agree.
it's beautiful.
Some of the tribe that's come
Yeah.
my way have had that that's their perception too. Today, while I'm listening to you, I can tell that the shift that I'm watching in you is what has manifested with me, because I had focused so much my attention over the last few years on what had happened to me and that interpretation, and trying to find other people that had that same thing. That's what I spent my time on until something shifted a month to 6 weeks ago, as we've all been talking about. And from that point on, there's a balance now. Oh yeah, I have this 3D life that I live and the things that I do here, but also well aware of everything else that is going on, has gone on, and it's about to go on. You sit in a new place. So it's another, I keep thinking of bridge. The word bridge keeps coming into my wherewithal. And when you and I first met and I got comfortable with what you were bringing to the table, that's when I could see this bridge beginning to come together between Inner Earth and BES. And it's just, you have to assimilate all that stuff first, get used to the idea that it's possible, and then you achieve acclimation, because now you know that you're in touch with it, and you're never not aware of it anymore moving forward.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking that that's correct also. I wanted to mention some of the things that you say a lot, some of the terms. One of them is the lifting of the veil, or the veil is lifting. That's one of the things I wanted to bring into this, because there's a similitude between that type of energy and the veil of forgetfulness. And that has a lot to do with channeling, because we are more able, I think, to channel true universal love and to channel true universal knowledge and charity of behavior. That the very idea of feeling true love that takes nothing from us but only gives, like a mother's love. And our Mother Earth loves us in the same very powerful form. So the veil of forgetfulness, then, for the souls that had to come back, or requested to come back, or were asked to come back. And when we part and our karma is converted to dharma, and we share this with all the angels and all the loving energy of heaven, we share this beautiful experience with everybody, and they're attracted to our light because they're made of light as well. And this is the pure light of universal love that comes directly from universal law. And of course, when we say law, we refer to the mechanics of existence, not law like there's a judge. There is no judge. There is no answer, and there are no questions. Existence in the moment, in this very moment, this second, the next word I'm about to speak, existence in that moment coming, is so easy to see existence in this area once you release the concept of control and self-doubt. And the wisdom of truth speaks to our heart. When we listen to the truth being spoken about, we can easily discern if it's the true light love, the true love, or if it's not. And then what you do is you thank the lesson for coming to you, and you say, that's their universe, that's their reality. Many blessings to them, and just keep passing on into the now. So I left you an interesting comment, and one of the things that stood out were control mechanisms and manipulation of ideas delivered through packages of information. So one of the things that I want to remind people and to discuss is that when light information passes through us, and when light packages are visible, or you see flashes of light packages, depending on your orientation and how much of that light package you've absorbed, whether that package was actually directly sent to you, or if it was a message from a star to another star and you're just observing it, or if it was a message from somebody in Lyra sending a light signal to somebody in the Pleiades, and it passed past us and we absorbed it because we're light beings. So we have to interpret part of the signaling that we receive as the truth from the universe as someone else's message that we're just filtering. So it's very important to understand the identity of our soul is Gaia. We are the Gaians. Our soul is that of Gaia. And we can be visitors into the Gaia soul aspect of this dimension. So you could be a step in, you could be a walk in, you could be a new arrival, you could be a star child, but we're all some star family walking into this human experience with Gaia. And that's really just the multidimensionality of this existence alone is mind-boggling. So the veil of forgetfulness protects children from tasks that were unfinished or from bad experiences they may have had that weren't their fault. And it protects the new birth soul from influence from an immediate flood of Akashic records, an immediate flood of past life memories, an immediate flood of all these events. Not to ignore the events that happen to us when we pass from this life into the next higher realm. Because when we go, then we are also absorbing a vast amount of love light, because love is also a form of light. And so when you're a light being, you feel the love in the light and you become connected like trillions of countless particles of light, and you absorb one another. And so when we're born and we live in these corporeal forms, we realize as the veil is lifted that we're really light beings and the communication happens naturally. So we have to remember that what may seem like a message for us could be a message for somebody else that we absorb because we are also light beings. So an evolutionary spiritual step would then be start concentrating for a moment about the fact that it's a constant exchange of love and light, and a constant exchange is like a super highway of celestial information. And sometimes we're up in it, and sometimes we're a little above it or below it in a different position. And then sometimes we get the full Monty, where we have so much information coming at us from this terrestrial aspect, and then our heart, and then also from the universe. Not to say that our heart is separate than the universe, but that our heart also is the only true tuning fork. It's the only true tuning fork for the universe of love to speak of love directly to our souls, so that we're controlled by love and that we're soldiers of love and warriors of light, because that's what really is needed. You know, this reality needs heroes, and I think everybody's stepping up to the plate. I feel a lot of joy and I feel a lot of strength, and I feel that coming from the deep source of our human existence. So I think there's a beautiful rebirth and growth of self-realization, and I can feel that too. So in order for me to remain focused on my task at hand. Because my path is as an educator, really. It's not really, maybe a comedian. I've been thinking about writing a comedy skit or 20 about just my experiences with you. And I tell you what, I'll be famous. I could be like the community comedian. Uh, so
You
that,
know, we'll
that's all I
talk.
wanted that's all I wanted to share. I know that was kind of woo.
Well, no, it wasn't, but there was something that came out of that. And I want to point it out. Um, the when you mention this light that we've been paying attention to, and the fact that we've seen it now, we've documented it. I didn't see it from the perspective. And I didn't assume that, all this blinking light was traffic that was meant for me. I certainly didn't see that, but I didn't see it from the perspective that you just illuminated, when that might be communication going on between other sentient things, and you just happen to pick up on it because you've been looking for that. So it makes me think differently when I see orbs in a location, or when I see craft moving across, the space in the sky that isn't a star that's moving, and we can rule out that it's not um, a satellite because it just shifted direction. Yeah, I hadn't seen it from that perspective, so it's helpful for us to take in all of it, and that's for those of us that are looking in the sky at the lights and have some rudimentary understanding of what we're seeing.
Yeah, I think that's knowledge is an aspect of the experience. So how could you not want to have
Yes.
that as well? It's nice to cognate, because we're existing in this reality. When you want to understand the mechanics and understand the knowledge of communication, then it's good to want to look at the mechanics, because it shows you're inquisitive, and it shows that you're intelligent, and you want to understand a higher order of mathematics. And the only reason I'm speaking in those terms is because these are the only words that are available to me.
Yeah. Well, we're humans. We want to cognate everything. That's the only way that we can really
Well,
understand it.
okay, and so
And
you just did it, because that's the royal we. You see, bingo, that's the royal we. And then that was the
yes.
other we I wanted to talk about was, and yes, some of us have, maybe we don't anymore. Sometimes when I hear we, it makes me think of that's a situation that's occurring, and I don't want to, because if thoughts are things, then we can eliminate that we, and we can say some of us are having this experience, right?
True.
Right. So
True.
that way we're not partaking in that. Like, I'm not in that position, so you can't put me in that we. That's why it's a royal we. But anyways, I'm sorry for interrupting, Professor. Go ahead and continue. That was
No,
just something
no,
I
that
wanted to
was the
point out.
conclusion of my thought. While you
Oh
were
yeah, it was great.
describing that, those things were beginning to occur to me because, yes, I have spent some time looking at a spot in the
Oh
sky like
yeah.
I was instructed, and I have fruit that bore that I get it. What I did, it for the longest time, I think you and I were in the same boat for a while. We just thought that what we knew, we were supposed to share with everybody else. And so that's where our energy went. Well, we remembered recently, and we're not the only ones when I say we in this particular case, that remembered we needed to focus on our own evolution because there was more information coming our way. And we were so busy worrying about what we were supposed to do to serve others that we failed to focus on our own journeys. And looking back, I wonder if I lost some opportunities because I was so focused on it elsewhere. But, we are where we are, and our journey ends up where it is in its own divine time. And I can't put that into 3D terms yet. Tried to understand it, but here's where you just open yourself and allow and watch what reveals itself next. It's not that you didn't have some clue about what's coming, because as you mentioned, we've been crafting this journey and the road that we've been all the whole time. When we talk about thoughts become things, we have been perfecting our ability to manifest along the way. I had a talk with a young girl that I hadn't spoken to for a while. She's Tribe. She's been around since the inception of me coming out. And Sam was talking about that very thing yesterday. So it's not surprising that everybody is beginning to feel this, and they're in a place where they can speak about it.
Yeah, this is, do you remember me saying that, listen, my brothers and sisters, who are listening to us now, we all have this really good ability to figure out what's sort of happening. And I think all of us are getting to the point where we're not really having to talk about it as much. Because when you talked about when we were at a certain harmonizing, I got this sort of image, like here's one energy wave, here's the other energy wave. And then sometimes they're like this, and then sometimes they come down or they're like this again. So we're all riding a wave. It's when our energies, our light connects, and sometimes you have this really beautiful connection, and sometimes it's just the way it is. We're all individuals, so you can't have the same experience. You can't. Maybe it's even funny to say you couldn't even have a similar experience. I'm believing that just waking up and being able to manifest the reality that we're supposed to, in the process of people waking up, which is referred to as ascension, because there is a waking up process. It does take a while. You have your epiphany about yourself and your belief systems, and then you open up from there and you begin seeking the truth. And this goes back to what we were talking about true light and seeking the truth. When you get a light package, it may not have been yours. It could have been a light package from sky people to a deer or a bobcat. It's only human arrogance that makes us think that it's messages for us. It's, messages for Gaia too, because we're all made of light.
Yes.
We're all made of light. So all of creation is made of light. And that light is energized by love, universal love. That's why it's so bright. Some of us have a brighter light. Some of us have a light. I believe we all have one, because many of us have high percentage, 99% of us really have impeccable souls. We're people that have a decent sense of decency and a sense of what's right and what's not right. And, the best way to divide our time up to be of assistance to the planet and our neighbors and our friends. And that's, I think, a very poignant value of this reality. But the next poignant value, when we pass from this reality into the next, who knows? I'm not sure I want to know, because I like surprises. Does that make sense?
I think you won't be disappointed from what I expect. You won't be disappointed. I just keep getting this sense that my guides keep prodding me to dream bigger, because we're going to blow you away with whatever decision we give you. So now ramp up whatever you have in mind for me, and I'm ready to receive. Paula is here, and she has been rolling out some other things and shifting. So I really want to give her an opportunity to explain what has shifted with her, because she's begun to produce some things that on her YouTube channel that weren't there before. And I'd like to hear what's behind all that. Assuming you want to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, I can talk about it. Hey, Lowell. Hey, Dave. Good to see you. Loving your conversation this morning, just sort of taking it all in.
Salutations. It's lovely to get a chance to talk, because it's been a month at least, so it's cool.
Been a minute, yeah. And you know what? It's funny, Lowell, that you said that, because it happened all kind of 6 weeks ago for me too. So it's been, because I didn't have a YouTube channel before oriented around anything like this. I'm trying to think. I didn't have a YouTube channel. So I don't do social media or any of that stuff. I'm the worst. So I don't know why, I was talking about this on one of the messages I gave. It's my mediumship teacher, Mavis Patilla. She said, when I die, the first thing I'm going to ask God is, why is it that you choose mediums that are always shy and introverted to speak publicly? She goes, we are not the type of people that, want this sort of pressure. But so 6 weeks ago, same thing. I got this, so I have been, an evidential medium, which is very different than channeling. To me, it's not the same. It's very different experience. And I was just ready to fall asleep one night. And all of a sudden, these words just came out of me spontaneously and said, your greater work is beginning. You've been stubborn about channeling, because I'm not comfortable with channeling. I'll be honest. I have all my friends channel. I love listening to channelings, but I've never seen myself in that role. So you've been stubborn about channeling, but this is some next steps for you, which is probably just my personal growth. Some of this is just individuated personal growth that your soul chose to do before you came in, and then the kicking and screaming of the growth that you do while you're here because you don't remember you were going to do that. But yeah, it's been coming in pretty, at first it was really coming in very strong and heavy, but I don't think it's just my growth. I think it's timing with everything else going on too. And they did say I did do a channeling. One of the things that they channeled through me in one of the recordings that's more personal, but it was practice and speaking with the voice instead of just the head. Was it said, you're going to start seeing things in the news to corroborate or confirm that things are changing. And then sure enough, things have been kind of, interesting in the news, with things going on and that sort of thing. And it's always something, when the news starts trying to play it down, when they don't try to sensationalize it, like, yeah, it's been a strike or a hit against this country, but everybody says that they're going to settle down now. And you know how the news is, they're always like, it's been struck, and then they sensationalize it, after that. But now they're kind of like, ooh, let's dial this back and not try to light any fires with it. So that has been happening, just as they said the channelings are. So I think it's good, because as things sort of fall apart, something is presenting itself as improvement to hold on to, even though you don't have a perfect picture of it yet, or a perfect understanding of how you're going to get there. So I'm grateful for all of us. I think it's all good stuff, but it has been playing out with the news and the channelings as well. So yeah. That we're moving into a new frequency. I see it as kind of a new frequency, right? A new place.
If we look at it from a vibrational perspective, to me, you're vibrating at a higher level. You're accessing stuff you didn't access before. Yeah. And you just have to get acclimated to it. We weren't around that kind of energy before. And first, you have to get used to different sensations. And so all of this time we spent talking about feeling things is when you can finally look at somebody, when you hear them say that, and they have come into full awareness of their ethereal body, because that is how they're communicating with everything else. It's way beyond our five senses. those tools were given to us to equip us with this body that we're riding around in here. But as Dave pointed out, and what really helped people sink into the ideas that your soul, forget what you think you look like when you're looking in the mirror. Your soul is what carries your Akashic records and all the information of all your experiences. And that's what you're riding around in this carbon suit with right now. Remember that part first, and then deal with the idea that more of your experiences through your Akashic records are now being opened and access to you so that you can begin to adjust to the dimensions that we're straddling. It's crazy.
Yeah. I agree with the whole dimension straddling, and Dave, to your point with the being the teachings, now it's making a lot of sense. The importance of exposure to saying what you're experiencing, or saying what you're guided to say, because it's all been seeded. It's like a seed that's been planted, and even though you don't see any results of it, now I'm starting to see the little buds starting to show up. And I think other people are experiencing, oh my gosh, that teaching that Dave gave me, a year ago, I sort of just tucked it away, but now it's starting to show its a little bud on the top of the surface. And it's like, oh, thank goodness you did that, Dave. Because you're like, this doesn't mean, what is this going to do? How much difference is this going to make to say this or here or there? It's a seed, and I think it's starting to bud now. And
you can't see that and express that until you get far enough down the road that you recognize the seed that you planted back then. And I'll give you the most vivid example for me recently has been when Gaia featured the episode of ED that I was on, and all of a sudden here came a whole new wave of people who'd never heard of me before and resonated with words that they had not heard before for some reason. So look at that episode with Ruben that I think it was posted in July of 2022. It's been sitting there on Gaia all this time. And so that seed was just waiting for these new people to open it for whatever reason. And here they came. They knew that they were tribe too. They knew that what they heard vibrated, and it made sense to them. It resonated with them. So now they're showing up to get some kind of clarity like I did when it first happened to me. Where are my touchstones? Who knows enough about this or can speak to me on these terms that can help me come to terms with what happened?
Right. Well, that's, July of 2022 was when I was right in the middle of writing my book that ends talking about Telos, right? It kind of talks about humanity's growth and development, and, its ups and downs, and pulls back and moving forward. And then it says, okay, here's the next leap. This civilization is we're going to be patterning after them. And I'll be honest with you, it was an act of faith. I was just getting so much information from them and energy, but I was still, to your point, when you said I was still trying to look for touchstones after my experience, I can't tell you the value of a touchstone that's see, hear, smell, taste, touch, when you're still in this illusion of that being true. Because I was wrote my book, and I was very diligent about it, etc. But that touchstone of that television, I was like, gosh, I just don't know. Am I making this up? I mean, I know Diane has written these books. It resonates with me. And I see that there's other people that have created Facebook groups. So they're, because I'd never heard of it before I gotten the message, right? I was sitting in meditation, had no expectation of saying, hi, this is what I was hearing. Hi, we heard your call out to light workers, and we're a light worker too. And we're from Telos. Look at Diane Robbins' books. Like, I'd never heard of Telos. Never heard the word. And so then in October, I think I heard I was watching Gaia in September. And you know how when it suggests shows for you, why it would suggest it that you're there, it was. Lowell Johnson's Journey into Talos. I said, you got to be kidding me, because I'm still trying to talk myself into Talos being real. And then there's a guy that visited there physically. Like, oh, okay, thank God. You know, it's like, thank God I haven't spent the last 3 months going down a rabbit hole that this isn't going to turn out to be nothing, you know, because it's hard. It's hard to leap from where you are to that in such a short period of time without a touchstone. So I know that's brought so much relief to people and joy and information. You know, I'd love to see, Lowell, is if we could get the audio of it and we could play a little and then you comment on what you were thinking at that time and what you've learned since. Play a little, and I don't know about the copyrights of that, but you know, kind of play the audio for people and say, well, this is what I was thinking then, and this is what I know now, and this is how I've grown. I'd love to do an interview with you on that whole episode now compared to then when you did it.
You know, it took getting this far down the road for me to look back. And I've been saying this more recently because it occurred to me, I wasn't ready to tell about my experience in Telos the week after it happened.
God.
The information got out there because I was trying to find people in this community that I thought were cool with the things I was learning. Lemurians, Telos. There are people in here in Mount Shasta that know about this stuff. That's what I wanted. So I started to reach out to some people. And in the end, the one who responded, who helped validate, and we'll come back to that idea in just a second, was Asara Adams. After I got done, I went back to my hotel room and scoured the internet for everything I could find. And it turns out that there was a woman named Asara Adams who lives here in Mount Shasta. Here's her phone number and here's her address. And she has been channeling Adama and the Pleiadians forever. And she has a vivid knowledge of Telos. She's been astrally traveling there for a long time. Now, just to kind of put this into perspective, if you knew who Asara was before that, and I don't remember, you know, her given name, this is the name she goes by now. She's lived in Shasta for a while. She was in property management in Florida before whatever triggered her to move to Shasta and commence this connection with beings that were higher. Anyway, Asara, after I found her, I was just going to, you know, knock on her door and just share my story because I just wanted to hear from somebody. So I wanted to measure their authenticity first. And then here, let me share you help me understand what just happened to me. I left her a voicemail. And it turned out the address that was on her website was a post office box. And so that wasn't where I was going to find her. But 45 minutes later, after I left an incredible message, she called me back. And for the next 2 hours, we shared what had happened with me. And at the end, that was when she said, I know that it happened. I know what you're telling me is true. And so when we have these, that's the purpose that the touchstone serves. It validates whatever the hell happened with me, whether it happened with somebody else. And by that taking place, I knew that it was true with me. It was validation. So when I talk about the amount of time that I'd sequestered and I was fine being alone, I forgot how much good it was supposed to be when the tribe comes together and what really gets exchanged. Because there is where clarity comes. When we have these experiences and we need to share them with somebody, it's the tribe that helps us put that into perspective. These are people I trust. They vibrate at my level. When they hear what I have to say, if they don't have anything to say, they're wise enough to tell me that and keep their mouth shut and stay in their lane. But those that did have a perspective, that was what I was supposed to hear. This is why I shared it with them in the first place. They helped me get some more clarity. So watch how all that shit's accelerating right now because information's coming at us so freaking fast that we're trying to acclimate the things that spirit is trying to feed us because the shift is coming and the clock is ticking.
I think spirit is trying to feed us teachers. And I wanted to acknowledge Paula and Lowell. I think your explanation of the way you were approached and how you woke up to it is perfect. And it's just a reflection on the individuality of our experiences as a collective, because each experience of awakening for all of us, I truly believe, is highly individual and highly sacred. And so it's a wonderful thing. Paula, your nod to me was pretty cool. Thank you, especially since I haven't had a chance to return the compliment. You were talking about seed buds. I'd like to get to that in just a second. Paula, I wanted to say that when I woke up and was ready to come forward, I was excited about a lot of the teachers that I was working with, who were types of people who were just nice people who wanted to listen to what I had to say and then teach me about some other reflections of the human heart and the way we operate with each other. And so as I was coming to the point where I'm at now, wherever that is, I think it's a higher understanding of myself, because those are the only parameters I have to work within. But one of the things I wanted to bring up, Paula, was that as we experience a higher and higher evolution spiritually, this, of course, is also an intellectual experience because we think very deeply, don't we? And you have to, in order to cognate this into the reality in which you exist. That's why I'm, a fervent believer of keeping your feet on the ground and dealing with stuff that's in front of you. But no matter how many teachers you get, Paula, in your spiritual growth, you won't need any of that anymore. And you'll understand all of it. So as soon as you start hearing one teacher speak a couple of sentences, you're going to go, yep, know that, feel that, that's right. And then just keep going on your own path. So it's a nice thing to be able to express channeled instructions and channeled love and channeled messages. It's really nice to express that stuff and have clarity. And I'm sure, like any of the lessons all of us learn in life, over a period of time, you'll be far off above and in a higher evolutionary aspect of those beautiful ways of communication. And it's just that beautiful growth process all of us are going through. And so I want to let you know you're sharing your experience is very brave, and your sharing of your experience is very open and honest. And so it's not hard to believe, because I'm resonating at that truth frequency that you speak. And it's funny, when people speak the truth to us, and especially the ones that we expect it from the most, you really can tell when you're telling the truth. So there's no question about what's going on. So, it's like, that's the aspect of not questioning the reality in which we exist, just exist within it and be that beautiful light. So yeah, you're doing great, but I'm sure, like in music or like in art or like in any of the beautiful higher studies as a physical being, you eventually pass your teacher and become the that which you were supposed to become, that higher order. So it's a nice thing to watch. And how are you, Paula? By the way, I haven't seen you for a while.
I'm doing well. I'm definitely feeling the changes from the one to the next. I'm feeling like I'm changing. I'm changing. I can feel the
That's
shift
beautiful.
within me. Yeah, I don't know. But you still got that stuff to let go of, and there's the courage to move into that new person that might be a little bit more bold than the other person, and that's really uncomfortable. That's uncomfortable.
Well,
I
I
can tell
understand.
by some of the first messages you put out there on YouTube, they take courage for you to
Yes,
sit
that's
down, record that,
exactly.
and then put that out there for anybody to read. That takes courage, first of all. And
Yeah.
explaining the things that you're channeling, man, that's a whole nother level of understanding for people. So bravo, kid. There's an audience that's waiting for you to talk about what you know. So we all have to
Yeah.
start somewhere. And as you laid out, by design, you claim you weren't that person because you'd rather just be shy and introverted. And yeah, not time for that anymore.
Right. Yeah, sometimes I don't know, you guys. Do you sometimes now, Dave, you've had a very different background growing up than myself. And I don't know all of Lowell's growing up, but kind of grew up in the same place. Kind of like I was pretty deep into the matrix there. I mean, there was the invitation to move out of the matrix many times. Like I remember in high school, I would sometimes just lay down and relax. And I remember floating into a trance. And I didn't know what trance was. I'm sorry. I live in Fargo, North Dakota, where I've got 3 television stations. There's nothing metaphysical about Fargo, North Dakota at
Right.
all.
And then you have a year-long winter.
Yeah, exactly. But I
Yeah.
had so many, I'd be walking around the YMCA because I loved the YMCA as a kid. I remember about 14 years old, I was walking in the YMCA. I remember popping out of my body, having an out-of-body experience, watching myself walk around the YMCA. I
Yeah,
had,
that's
you
awesome.
know,
That's like your soul is going, I'm getting the heck out of here.
yeah, I'm getting out of Fargo, especially the YMCA in Fargo. And then I've had, back in 93 or something, I saw a UFO. I was scared of it. I said, please go away. And then
Yeah,
I
I
didn't,
remember
you
that.
know,
I remember that.
when most people go, well, what was that? Well, no, I was like, I gotta finish. I gotta get this done. I gotta go to work. I gotta pay my school loans. That's all I was thinking. What
And
is
that's,
this?
that's part of that's part of the awakening process. And then that ship embedded,
30 years.
that's the bud. You see, even though you were scared and the ship flew past, boom, look at that. Now you're talking to a guy who's already been on one to another world.
It took me a while. What has it been? 40 years or something? Long time.
It's that's okay because there's no destined timeline to the things that we need to accomplish personally.
Yeah.
And just for me, I think it's all about maintaining my connection to love and feeling universal love. And boy, when I can generate that energy and it comes off of me, it really heals the planet. It heals the world, the people, the
Oh,
way people feel around me. And and just those typical interactions that we have with society. We all go to grocery stores, we all go to the newspaper stand. And it's like, so you want to just sort of, drop a dime, support your local guy, and then smile and say, man, have a beautiful day. It's such a lovely day outside. Did you go out and get a chance to take a deep breath? And so it's like, and then people respond.
yeah.
If you say something really good and supportive to any stranger that you meet because you've got to, have an interaction like the post office or whatever, just spreading that inner love and just say something nice, give them a compliment.
Yeah.
And boy, it just makes a huge difference in the way society reverberates.
Yeah.
They're like
And
ripples.
for some of us too, that, like for myself, I don't want to say some of us, because that's how my grandma used to say stuff. When she would talk about herself, she would say, well, some people would say,
Well,
she would never.
that's okay. That's honoring your grandmother's spirit. So good for
Yeah.
you, sweetie.
Some people would say that some of this growth and development is to, like, if you've been more introverted, like this is what I've been struggling with, is that I have to speak up for myself. Because in the past, I would just, if I was, let's say I felt treated unfairly because, if I'm the type of person that's mild mannered, you can probably like walk all over me and I would just kind of walk away and be like, oh gosh, and not say anything. But I feel like there's an invitation for me to be more whole as a person, and the things that I've had weaknesses in to be stronger and more, stand up for myself. I feel like that's important. And then I think for other people that I know that are really like they'll go in right away with the, you know, the punches. They're like, no, but your job is different. Your job is to hold back and to be more introspective in those things. You know what I mean? So, because I think as you move into being part of a greater reality, it's important for you to be a more holistic person. Does that make sense? Like really look at your weaknesses and your strengths and be like, okay, how can I be more a whole person moving into this? Because that's what's kind of needed when you're walking into greater realities.
Well,
I
in
don't
the
think that people get a choice to do that. It's either who you are, and that reveals itself during the process. But I don't think that there's this subset of questions that I put myself through because I didn't know the questions to ask about this situation I find myself evolving through. You know, it's like the blind leading the blind. I was listening to your characterization of when Dave was kind of introduced to your life, and now it connected the dots with that thing that you saw in the sky long ago. Well, that was divine timing for you to kind of get help from the tribe on sorting that out. I remember the first time you and I met when you told me that you were compelled to write this book about inner earth and you weren't quite sure about any of it until the book was done, and then you found me. So here is the next validation for the things that you thought were being introduced to you that you had no question about. All of a sudden, the dots are beginning to connect
Yeah.
with people that are coming your way that can validate these things.
Yeah.
It's
That's
crazy.
Yeah, Paula, I'd just like to mention, in the spirit of understanding what thoughts or things are, in the sense of our words are accumulations of our thoughts, you know, that beautiful front left area of our brain called Broca's area. That's that part of our brain that allows us to convert thoughts into words,
true.
or it enables us. So rather than saying, I want to look back into some of the weaker aspects of who I was or the weaker aspects of myself, in the understanding of thoughts being things, I wouldn't use that word even. I would just sort of say, you know, I'm not correcting you, by the way. I'm just saying, when I realize what thoughts are things where when I have a weaker aspect of myself, because I know that in the normal sense, we all have them. But instead of saying that now, I say, I'm going to shine some light from my heart, some interior thought process. I'm going to shine some light. And I'm going to shine it on an area of my soul that it has aspects that I'd like to evolve spiritually.
Yeah.
Because those more negative aspects that all of us contain, that could be fear related or, you know, related to some uncomfortable thing that happened to us, those thoughts are all very valid and part of the growth process. So it's just how we use the word to describe ourselves is the very nature of accepting yourself 100% and saying, hey, I'm just going to shine some light on that area, and I know that that area is going to open up like a flower.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Right.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, your thoughts are really important to Lowell and I. And I think there's a lot of people that tune in and are switched on to what you're going through and what you've accomplished, because, you know, you're pretty amazing.
Aw, well, you guys are super amazing. And it's funny that you mentioned, you guys are talking a lot about the heart lately, the heart. And this last channeling came in talking about the importance, you must have been channeling it, the importance of moving from that I, me, to the heart and the we. You know, what's good for all of us? What's good for all of us, meaning the trees? What's good for all of us, meaning the elementals? What's good for all of us, meaning my fellow neighbor? But then also what's good for all of us with my neighbor across the sea, and what's good for the children. And I mean, you guys are already there, but that's kind of what's been saying. It's like this leap from the I am, you know, I am God, which is an important lesson to learn, because if you think you're nothing, you know, being the I am is wonderful. And then shifting that to the heart, we are, and I'm here to support you and you're here to support me. I think that's where we're heading. I think you guys have said it so many times. I think that's what you're channeling, this whole concept of what's best for the we. And I am my individuated self within that.
Yeah, you figured it out. You figured it out. And this isn't something we can tell you, because if we do that, then we're trying to take the role of instructors. When you have all the gifts already, you can instruct yourself.
Right. Right. And get the support from others. And then, it's like, instead of like, like when you say something, well, hi, how can I help you? Maybe it's more like, hi, how can I help you? And how can you help me? Like everything
Sure.
now. Right.
Yeah, it's the exchange of those light particles and the messages we're giving and messages we're receiving. Sometimes they're yours
That's
and they
the
come from your
beauty
soul, and sometimes they're
of
for somebody else and you're absorbing it. And that's what gives us some of the feelings that we have. I
That's
would
what
I would
you're
reckon that
saying.
to I would reckon that to intuition itself.
Yep, exactly. I'm going to
that's
recognize
the
it.
beauty of the group. No one's here to project what we think you should be doing. No one in this group does that. And so that's so peaceful for me that nobody's casting what they think I should be doing on me, and just allowing me to kind of evolve along the way. And thank you all for validating the journey along the way without saying so. But that's the beauty of the people that are in this group, as opposed to, I've been careful about the group on Facebook that we put together so that I understood completely where these people heart and mind were, so that when we had these discussions about sensitive things, that wasn't out there for everybody. It was for those of us that vibrate at the level that understand the messages that are coming out. And so
Beautiful.
it I can't grow unless I get to express those things and get some feedback from somebody I trust. So it took me a while to come to that conclusion, though, too, because for a long time I thought being quiet and sequestered, fine, I'm not affected by any of that other crappy white noise. But I wasn't evolving then anymore. And until I got to that point and recognized it, I didn't realize, stunted my growth is the phrase that pops into my head. And the more I think about it, the more I did. I just refused to go any further because I was waiting for everybody else to catch up. Because I thought, as my service to others being, this is what I'm here to do. And the day that my guides explain there's a way to put your ego aside, Lowell, and feed what you're supposed to get, that's what you should be focusing on. And those not easy terms to come with.
Hey, Paula, I just want to say something really quick, because I know Lowell's about to call it, and Lowell, I'm going to call it. That's a lovely place to almost walk away from today's chat. Paula, I know that it would be really neat for you to finish or sort of encapsulate your thoughts about our conversation today for 30 seconds or 60 seconds. It'd be nice to hear what your thoughts are about getting together. And then the other thing is about channeling. There's nothing in the Bible that says that speaking in tongues or having a spirit within you, or being moved by a spirit, or seeing a spirit, there's nothing in the Bible that says any of that is bad. And it's all been recognized, even in the Bible, however, rewritten and corrupted it was from its original version, if there ever was one. So It's like, but channeling is something that's pretty interesting. And when I don't channel, but I am moved by spirit. And what are you doing on the 28th of this month? You going to be pretty busy?
In 1 week?
Yeah. Vivian Chauvet has asked me to come on and speak to her and Jeff Demare.
Oh.
Jeff works directly with a species known as the Ponte.
Oh.
And he's a fabulous guy. He's documented every moment of his experience.
Oh, smart.
And he's her sort of podcast partner. And then Vivian's asked me to come on, and believe it or not, my friend from Taurus, Kim Jim, has asked if he can step in.
What
Do me a
time on the
favor and
28th?
let everybody else know what her podcast channel is and what the time is for the live
Yeah.
thing is going to be.
Okay, well, Vivian's channel is called Infinite Star Connections, or just look up Vivian Chauvet, 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 and it's going to be on April 28th.
What time?
I believe it's going to be in the morning,
Morning?
or the morning. I think it's in the morning, but she's going to post something up, I'm sure, in a couple days. She mentioned it on her last show. But it's interesting because Kim Jim's asked me if I was comfortable with it. Okay, so Kim Jim, just, he's the blue man who changed my life forever. He and I had a very close relationship for the first 4 years after being returned. Every 2 years, he would come and visit me. The first time he visited on our 2nd year anniversary of meeting, it lasted about 10 minutes, and it was just the most wonderful thing. And the second time, on our 4-year anniversary of meeting, he spent about 5 minutes with me and said that he was going to be very, very busy and wouldn't be coming to the next couple of anniversary meetings, and he would use my little friend Toth, the one that woke me up for my first visit. And he's remained in touch. Now, I've sort of ignored Kim Jim because we have a very strong psychic bond. Anytime I think of him or speak his name, he responds. So I've had to tell him, even talking about his name and mentioning his name, I've had to tell him already that you don't have to tune in. I'm just talking to friends. And he understands. He's multi-layered. Well, he's going to be talking about what I'm going to be doing. He's asked me to help him with a couple of projects, and he's opened a couple of important doorways for me. So I'm going to talk about that on her show. He's going to speak through me. So I've allowed him permission to sit within me. And so
Ooh, that sounds like channeling.
she has some very important questions for him. I have no idea what's going to be discussed. And then I'm also going to be speaking to Vivian about a few things that I've sort of woken up to, but then she's prepared some questions for Kim Jim. So I don't know what the questions are, but I know that they're important because Vivian is amazing. So it's going to be really a trip, and I'd really like you to be there, Paula, and I'd like Lowell to be there, and I'd like anyone else who's interested to tune in, because I'm not really going to be doing public appearances after this at all.
Oh,
I'm starting a couple of projects, and I've been invited by these agencies who need my help to begin, and so I'm going to be disappearing for 6 months or a year.
wow, that's amazing.
So I just kind of wanted to get on
Miss you, but you're going to keep in touch.
Yeah, we'll stay in touch privately, but it won't be as much. It'll be a few emails and a few texts and stuff, because I'm going to be given a couple of new cell phones and I have to use those.
Whoa.
So it's going to be interesting.
Well, I would
But
love to send my support on that. What
Well, I'm going to be
I'll look
talking
it up,
about.
Vivian Chauvet, but mention the time for other people just so they know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what
Not
time
sure.
it is.
I'll find
It's either in the
it.
morning or they're usually at 6 p.m. So, but I thought she had mentioned something about 11 a.m., but it's probably 6 p.m. on the 28th. So Infinite Star Connection, Vivian Chauvet and Jeff Demare. It's a very cool show. And she also, Vivian, she does.
She also has a Facebook page, looks like.
Oh, she's
and
amazing.
LinkedIn.
But she helps everybody with every aspect of awakening and experiences that they've been through. She's also a powerful psychic. And she's a very dear friend of mine, and her husband Peter come over for dinner and stuff like that. So I'm getting very close to them. Her eminences as an Arcturian are just a treasure to be around. And when we get an opportunity to put you next to Vivian, and Peter and all of us can sit down to dinner with Lowell, and we're going to have a laugh. But Vivian's energy is so beautiful. She's like a star. And so it's like, gosh, and it just turns out that she loves me and I'm her friend, and her husband loves me. And so it's just a great relationship. So, when I speak to her on the 28th, I'm not holding anything back because Vivian's my friend.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be releasing my responsibility to be visually present and to do anything publicly, including any further shows, for at least 6 months to a year, because I have a couple of documents that I've been producing for both the US government and for some other space agencies. And so I'm going to discuss what they are in Vivian's show. And then that's why you guys are going to know I'm disappearing for about 6 months to a year.
Wow. That's amazing. But looking forward to you keeping up as well.
Yeah, so I'm going to drop out. I'm going to drop out.
Okay.
But it's not, I'll be paying attention to a couple of things, but I'm going to be working on these projects about 14 to 16 hours a day.
Oh, gotcha. That's a
Right?
lot.
Well, it wasn't
Yeah,
like you didn't drop out before, because there was a period of time when you had your incident until you chose to speak about it. Wasn't there 4 or 5 years in between those events?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because, I've shared photographs. I've shared photos on Soul-Based Life, Becca B's channel, previous interviews, and with Vivian and with Lowell, and the 4-part series. There's lots of great pictures. So you have to understand my contact and commitment to the experience is not a form of manipulation. It's an agreement that I joined into with our friends. And so they're taking it to the next level with me. And so they've asked me to sort of put my social engagements on the back burner for 6 months to a year, because I have some very important meetings coming up. So it's going to be interesting. But it's
Wow.
all going to be about showing diplomacy and love.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, they're diplomatic programs that I'm writing.
I love
Makes
that.
sense.
In political science, that's my thing, man.
Yeah, it'll all come out in the wash someday. But when the program's over, then I'll probably be able to talk a little bit about it. I have to find out from them.
All right. Well, here's a good spot to stop.
Yeah, I was
I
trying
will
to find
mention
the time on there, but
one
I'm still
thing.
kind of hunting it down.
Well,
So
listen, it's been a
I think
hoo-ha,
Dave's
and I love
right.
you guys. So, Paula, you're amazing peach and a sweetheart, and I just think you're amazing. And you're one of those special women that I can connect with, because it's just, when I got rid of my ego and when I became a man who decided to be friendly and gentle all the time, it made it so much easier to have open, honest relationships with adult women my age. And it was just one of those things. It just, all of us take a long time before we're able to chill out enough to be able to sit down and be with somebody like you. And so I value your spirit.
thank you. I value your spirit too, and so excited about what's coming for you.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing. It's a big program, and it involves my friends from above and important friends that I've developed down here since my experience. So it'll be fun, and it's a good thing for everybody, because it's going to be about our behavior as a species, professionally, outwardly, our military behavior.
Yeah.
So, and how we're perceived as basically is not what they're trying to produce as an image for themselves. And so what we're going to do is, if by chance somebody from the 5th military branch makes a mistake and takes a pot shot at the wrong ship, then the Air Force will be able to come in with the diplomacy program to patch it up.
With the Space Force,
Yep. And with the US Air Force.
the two together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both in
Because
Colorado Springs. I know
one
somebody
eight.
whose dad works for the Space Force. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, I have a lot of friends in Space Force. My uncle, Bill Horacek, was a full bird colonel at Fort Worth in the Air Force. So I'm, come from military family. But it's a program where if something goes wrong, then the other agency, because, you know, the Air Force is full of really amazing guys and gals that are just wonderful people. And, you know, in every agency, there's a bad apple. It's always those 1%ers. I like to think that 99% of all the people on this planet have a beautiful, impeccable soul. And it's just the 1% that we're constantly being affronted with by the media. It's just that 1% of corruption. I think 99% of all of us are beautiful souls. So what we're doing is we're going to make sure that when the moon base is built and all these other things, Northrop's going to make a huge investment on the moon, because we know that China's going to do that. We know that Japan wants a piece of that. We're signing an agreement right now with the Prime Minister of Japan to allow their astronauts on all of our space gigs that are coming up. So there's been a lot of community stuff going on. Yeah. So, but the problem is that everybody knows that there are people from other planets. Everybody knows it. And it's this huge, stupid game of, you know, how much we're going to talk about and how much we're going to let the monkey see and all that other crap.
My book calls it fake ignorance.
That's what it is. It's the false light. It's the controlled narrative. It's all the bullshit. And
even
so,
to oneself sometimes.
So what I found out is that the Air Force is very interested in a diplomatic dossier that talks about body language and heartfelt feelings and meditation and transcending this reality so that they can be more loving. Because that's the only way, because they read our minds and they read our energy and they know exactly what we're thinking, or they know exactly what we're thinking. So I'm producing this. I've finished producing this document for the Air Force so that when the Space Force does something stupid, the Air Force can go and patch it up.
That's what this last channeling was that I just posted today is about. It talks exactly about that. Isn't that, well, that's just how it's supposed to be. Nothing
right.
random,
So
nothing by coincidence.
So I'm the guy.
Wow.
So I'll be going
You and the
to,
wisdom keepers are talking.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny because they give me all this information about how to greet them. They've given me the universal language, body language codes. And they've asked me to develop a relationship with a specific base and a specific commander. And they're opening all the doorways in Washington for me to do that.
See, you know what? I always said this, it's not going to be this, I think there's going to be this path that's going to be a logical next step. And what you're talking about is logical next step. You know what I mean?
Right, because I have my feet firmly.
You have to have a path that's sort of logical that takes you from where you are to where the truth is, but it has to be kind of, it has to unfold in a sequential way that the mind can grasp.
Oh, sure.
Otherwise,
and that's
blow up.
Right. I mean, it's no different than working with, you know, local civic leaders. The thing is that everybody in the military and the U.S. government understands that taxpayers foot the bill. And then there's whatever nefarious shit the 1% get away with. We don't know about that stuff, and we don't care because they're always going to be in their own universe. The thing is that everybody knows what's going on. All right. More information has been given to the U.S. government vicariously by people like, you know, Dolores Cannon and Barbara Lamb than anyone can imagine. All right. They just watch her channel and they know exactly what the fucking next step is.
Yeah.
So they're not stupid.
They do recognize that this message is.
Sure. And they realize that we're on a precipice. And so a year ago,
that's the word that came as well. We're on a precipice. Same one.
Interesting. So when they came to me, when Kim Jim came to me with this proposal over a year ago, he said, you know, are you able to do this? You're going to have to stop all your social engagements and your, you know, video calls and your channel and all that stuff. And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So they're giving me all the information I needed. So I put it into a couple of classified documents. So all I'm waiting for right now is the final notices from Washington about getting in to go see a couple of
some texts
people.
On what you're up to.
Because everybody's going to get a copy, and it has an epilogue and a prologue that's written by Kim Jim. It's not written by me.
Nice.
And it's about them and their behavior. So it's a fascinating thing. I just can't release it to the public. It's not for you guys yet, and it will be someday. But I have to get in the door first, and so that's what's happening right now. And so by this time next year, I will be finishing working with my first Air Force commander, and I'm going to sit down with them, and I'm going to teach their astronauts how to meditate and how to connect with their soul and their heart.
Nice.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be nice if all the military were lined up on, think the power that all of the military soldiers were for the positive, what we could do.
Oh
Let's
no, it's
all
going to
get
be
together and clean this up. Let's all get
listen,
together and do this.
this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. These are the buds that you were talking about. This is why you channeled that other message. And that's why you understand the budding process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? We all go through it because you've been put on the fast track now. You must recognize that.
Yeah, it has been. It's been a little funkadelic, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
That's a good word.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah,
Is that
absolutely.
a good 80s word? Funkadelic?
It's perfect.
Yes.
It's perfect. You nailed it. And it's, I'm still having those moments, especially when Kim Jim showed up and said, I need you to go talk to Vivian because she's got this many subscribers and I need you to announce this on Lowell's channel.
Oh, yeah,
she's
got a lot of subscribers.
So this is the thing, though. This is because, I've never made a penny off of any of this. Ever. And I've been doing this for years, talking to people about this experience. And
well, maybe people need to start paying more money, energy connection to this stuff instead of maybe like a Lamborghini that is totally farting up our world with toxins.
Right. Well, it's really important that everybody realize that when you love yourself, it means you believe in yourself. And when you believe in yourself, there's nothing you can't accomplish. Your idea, no matter how lofty, your goal, no matter how impossible to other people it may seem, is just in an arm's reach. It's just making the decision to go for it. And so there's nothing any of us cannot accomplish in our lives. And we're all living a testament to this. The way my life changed from being a wine diplomat to the Russian government to becoming a diplomat for a whole other group of people to our own government is going to be a very interesting thing. And it has nothing to do with any news, any popular conversations. Nobody gets involved. It's just me taking some stuff that they need to know about over to them and sitting with a couple of these commanders so that they know exactly what they're up against. Because if they screw up twice, then that's it. We're not going to get attacked. There won't be retribution. We will be forbidden for flying past the moon. We will be forbidden from any more help from them. You see, so there's no retribution. If we screw up, if Space Force screws up and shoots down the wrong craft or shoots any of them down.
I was going to say, shoot any of them down.
If they shoot any of them down, that's diplomatic error number one. And so we need another agency to step in to correct it with them. Somebody who isn't involved with the Black Ops. You see, the Air Force is perfect because they have their own astronaut program and they don't work for the CIA. So it's like, So remember, the Air Force is sovereign. Doesn't work. They take information and instructions from the U.S. government. They don't. That's not their commander in chief. Commander in chief is the President of the United States. And then the command system goes down below him into Air Force commanders. It doesn't go filtered through the CIA or any Black Ops tables. So they're like the Navy. The Navy's the same way. They have their own laws. They have their own everything. It comes down from the President of the United States. So the NSA and the CIA and all these other three-letter agencies are completely ineffective as far as trying to control our military. And I can tell you right now, if anything really weird happened, it would be our military that saved our ass from the people in Washington that are trying to get away with murder. So
I'm so glad to hear that. But
our
Army Navy games. There's a lot of,
but that's the 1%.
A lot of money supported by Northrop Grumman. But you're saying they can do positive things.
Sure. And there's a lot of
I'm an Army mom, right?
Okay. Perfect. So the armed. Okay, so the armed services, we all join them for the right reasons. And, there's only 1% of the kids and young ladies that get involved with the Army that are going to end up in any kind of serious, like weird stuff. Mark Milley really blew it because he did General Mark Milley in the Army. He's our 4-star general. He did a graduation speech about 10 years ago at West Point. And one of the West Point officers filmed it on his phone, and he was talking about hybrid armies and little green men. And he really got a bit.
Really?
Yeah, Mark got in big trouble.
Guess where one of my kids is going to graduate from next month?
West Point.
It's my second child graduating from West Point.
Good for you, because, being from a military family, I can tell you, if you're going to Camp Pendleton, you weren't ever going to be an A student. If you're going to West Point, have a great time.
My kids have a good time. They have fun. Yeah.
My brother was
hold on. We're starting to wander off topic here. And as much as I'd love to hang around and talk about this, because it's interesting, we're still on a podcast and we need to finish this one. So before we finish, I do want to make an announcement. There were a couple of guys that I met at the Shasta conference, the first one ever did in 2021, Joe and Scott. They have a podcast channel called Truth Stream, and they invited me last Friday to be a part of it. It was incredible. Hadn't caught up, and he's got a whole different audience that I was unaware of. So the announcement was that their podcast channel is on Rumble, and somebody had mentioned it to me before, but I hadn't really focused on it, gave it any attention. I thought, producing what I was producing on YouTube so it could be distributed and streamed from there was enough. However, when I looked at the amount of traffic that that podcast had generated, it freaking blew me away. So my point is, over the weekend, I put a Starbuck light worker channel on Rumble as well. So all of the Shift Watch episodes are there. The Sharula Ducks video is there. Ooh. The Inner Earth videos are all populated there already. And so from here forward, these podcasts will also appear on Rumble. So if there's an audience that prefers that platform, the good news is that we will be there. We already are and have a presence there. So we'll see how that pans out for us. And who knew? Try new things is what I was told. So here's the next new thing.
Boy, we're all getting put through something. We're all getting put through something really important, and you're right on the right track, Lowell. And you certainly, you put your money where your mouth is. You've been staying in your own lane, brother, and God bless you for that, because you're not bullshitting any of us. It's been a straight story from you the whole time. And it's been amazing sitting and sharing stuff with you over the period that we've had. You and I will be in touch on a weekly, monthly basis anyway, so it's not too big a deal for us. But for everybody else, I just want to say sayonara, auf Wiedersehen, bienvenue, and see you later. Ciao, bella.